Well, good morning, everybody. It's been a little while since we've been here doing one of these. Last time we had Eric Johnson. Today we have Lisa Means.
Hello.
Lisa is in charge of all the outreach to children in Bethel Church and BSSM School Ministry. So we're going to hear from her in just a little bit. She's going to give us some really good stuff on how part of our heart is really to reach every kid, not just the kids in Bethel Church or the kids in the school here, but really our heart is to reach every child and every family in our community and in our city. And Lisa is a genius at doing that. And so we're going to have her share just real simple, practical stuff that's going to help you if you have a heart for that and you want to learn that or do that in your community. She's the one you need to talk to. So that's what we're going to do today. Hope you guys are ready. Lisa, you ready?
I'm ready.
A couple fast announcements since last time. We have a testimony we want to share that came in from Kim Road. She came to our Children's Leader School of Transformation in September, and she said, we bought Aileen Foos's book, which here it is. Oops, sorry. Here it is right here. Encountering God Through Soaking. Aileen is our 5th and 6th grade pastor at one of our campuses, the Twin View campus, and she wrote this book, and it's just different soaking encounters with God, and a very powerful book. But she said she bought the book, Aileen's book, Encountering God Through Soaking. It's a fun way to connect God with adults and kids alike. When we met with our senior pastor to share with him about what we have been able to implement from our time at the school, we went through one of Aileen's soaking sessions. It was a perfect way for our pastor to experience for himself what we are doing with team members and with kids, and the senior pastor was greatly blessed. That's awesome. This book is just designed to encounter God, so that's why we're here, and what we're doing is bringing children and people into encounters with God. So that's a really good book. We're going to put the link for it in the comments below, but you can get it at ibethel.org at the store there. But the direct link to it will be up there soon. You'll be able to get that and encounter God more.
Awesome.
It's good.
Yeah.
All right, Lisa, tell me, before we do anything else, before we start, tell us a story from the kids out. These are kids that don't come to church.
Mm-hmm.
The church goes to them.
Yep.
Some of them are in elementary schools for an after-school program, and some of them are out in parks or neighborhoods, apartment complexes, just wherever they are. Church comes to them.
That's right.
Cool. Tell us the story.
Okay. Well, we have a site that is really awesome. I mean, they're all really, really awesome. We were doing, I guess it was last year, and they had the lesson, Nothing is Impossible. And they were teaching the kids nothing's impossible, like with the Lord. And they're doing healing, and that led into salvation, because you can't see how real God is and not want to be a part of that. So the kids, one of the little girls, she ended up seeing a healing and then accepting Jesus into her heart. And she went home, and her grandma had been sick in the hospital for a while. I think she was in ICU. I think it was pretty serious. And she prayed for her grandma, and she said, well, I know she'll be healed.
Her grandma was supposed to be in the hospital 2 more weeks.
Yeah. And so she was released 2 weeks early and came home, and the little girl was like, Grandma, do you know why you're home early from the hospital? It's because I prayed for you, because Jesus healed you. And so her grandma, of course, I mean, it was a miracle that she was home, so she knew that this was true, and she ended up praying and receiving Jesus into her heart. And it's just amazing, the impact. It's not just the kids, but they take it home to their families, and it totally transforms the whole family. Yeah, it's awesome.
That's what we want.
Yeah.
Come on. How many teams do you have?
We have 27 teams, 14 after-school programs that meet once a week at the elementary school, and 13 community sites that are out in parks and in apartment complexes.
And those are all on Thursday afternoons.
Thursday afternoons.
You have 27 children's ministries happening simultaneously all around the city.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
27 Sunday schools going on all over the city, all at the same time, every Thursday.
Yeah, and sometimes the kids
That's pretty great.
that are in the after school will come rush home because they'll catch the very end of Sidewalk Sunday School. They're like,
they'll go to the after school and
yeah.
they'll run home because there's a Sidewalk Sunday School
At their apartment complex. Yeah.
Man, that's good.
Yeah.
How many people are on each team? Like, how many leaders? How many people are on a team that goes out on these 27 teams?
Let's see. They kind of range a little bit depending on how big the site is, but between 4 and 10 is about what we have. So if there's
a big site will have more people.
Yeah.
A smaller site will
like
have
a
4.
site of 50 will have 10 leaders, and a site of 20 or 15 will have 4 to 6 leaders.
So let's say somebody watching or thinking about this has they're going to go to an apartment or they're going to go to a school, and it's just them and a couple friends, or them, or it's their little team that works with kids and they want to go do something else besides Sunday morning. 3 people, 4 people, totally good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally doable. I had a team there were 4 of us when I first started.
Yeah.
And that was on Saturdays, actually, when I first started doing it.
Yeah. I remember.
Yeah.
It's good. Can you go over, we're just going to give you guys some real practical, like how to do this, how to start this, where to start, what we do here.
Yeah.
Actually, what we've done, this is just a little side note, but what we've done is when I came and started Sidewalk Sunday School, and then Ryan came and she sort of brought back to life the elementary school side of it. That's why Lisa has 14 teams and 13 teams, but I created Sidewalk Sunday School, but everything I took and built here came from Metro Ministries in New York City, and that actually recently has been rated the most reproducible ministry in the world, because you can take the principles that Metro has done and you can take them anywhere. You can take them into India, you can take them into Africa, you can take them into California, into a trailer park, and do the same type of stuff that they do in New York City, and it reproduces. It was ranked most reproducible ministry in the world. And so we've taken it and reproduced it. We've had to change a few things. Of course, you'll probably have to change a few things. You got to figure out how it works for you. But we're going to kind of go over our structure of the day. But we also recommend anything from Metro Ministries. Like if you want more training, they do training there. They have training products. They have other stuff as well. So they're amazing to learn real practical, how do you make this happen. But we're going to try to give it to you in a concise version today. So Lisa, go over kind of all right, so you have these 4 to 10 people. You go to a place. We're going to talk later about how to get how to start in a school or how to start in a community. But so you show up, your 4 people show up, let's say, and what do you do? How does it go?
Well, once you've, established with department managers and things like that we're going to go over later, that it's okay for you to be there. We have a bin that has all our supplies in it and has things like a tarp, a whistle,
What's
balloons,
the tarp for?
Candy. The tarp you lay out and the kids sit on it, and then you put the bin in front of that, and between the bin and the tarp is the stage. It's just
a little teeny tiny stage.
Yeah, little teeny tiny stage. And so once you first get there, you'll lay out your tarp, you'll put the bin where it goes, you tie 3 balloons on either side of the bin, and then half the team, you want to pray. That's extremely important. You want to pray as a team, and then you'll have half the team will go gather kids, although a lot of them will be waiting for you, and the other half stays there to kind of hang out with the kids that are showing up, playing games with them, connecting with them. Hey, how's that basketball game? Hey, did your sister have her baby? Just connecting and building relationship.
Yeah.
Once all the kids have gathered, you'll start the countdown. So one person on your team will get up on the stage and they'll say 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yay! And the kids will come right in and sit down on the tarp because they know it's about to start. And then
so whatever they're doing, they hear the countdown.
Yes, and they drop.
They just run.
Yes, because they know, all right, it's going to start. So that kind of gathers the kids, especially if you're in a park. If kids just hear a countdown, they're going to be like, "What's happening? It's about to start." They don't, even if they don't know what it is. And so
something's gonna happen.
Yes, it attracts people. So once we bring them all in, then we welcome them. Welcome to Sidewalk Sunday School, or welcome to Extreme Kids, or whatever it is that you guys want to be called. And you pray, Jesus, thank you for this day. Thank you for this opportunity. Help us have lots of fun. And then the next person gets up, because you want to keep, as children.
So if you have a team of 4, you'd have one person do that part, and then you switch.
Someone new comes up. And if you have a bigger team, you can have 2 people up at the front at a time, and you can just kind of rotate
a boy and
them.
A girl
And it keeps their attention span, because otherwise, if it's just one person up there the whole time, they're going to be like, well, I'm going to go play on the slide now.
I know, I get bored when I'm the only one talking for like 20 minutes. I get bored hearing myself.
Yeah.
But a kid is like,
2 minutes.
Please give me somebody else to talk to me now.
Exactly. So yeah, after we count down and welcome and pray, we go over our expectations. So that's a poster that you'd have in your bin. You pull it out of the bin. Our expectations are: sit on the tarp, don't come on the stage. Where's the stage? Right here, because it's not a real stage. You might want to explain.
I always tell the kids, if you do number 1, if you stay on the tarp, you automatically do number 2. You don't come on stage, so you do 2 for the price of 1.
Exactly. And then the third one is be quiet when the whistle blows. And then you might even want to practice. Okay, everyone stand up, be as loud as you can, and then you blow the whistle. All right, and that kind of
quiet.
Yeah, they get the little practice. And then they're quiet for yes-testimonies, which is the next thing that happens. So someone new will come up. Seth, what's a yes-testimony? Do you know what a yes-testimony is?
Yes, I do.
Tell us.
A yes-testimony is a testimony, but I think Psalms 119:111 says, "Your testimonies I have taken as my inheritance forever, for they are the rejoicing of my heart." What that basically means is when I celebrate what God has done for someone else, I open up my heart to have it happen to me. And so the way we've broke it down is every time I hear what God has done for someone else, I say, yes, I celebrate, yes-testimony. And I open up by celebrating them and what God did. I open up myself to have those kind of things happen for me as well.
Exactly. So what we say to the kids is we want to say yes to the good things that God is doing in our lives. And say, yes, do it again for me. So for an example, the leader will probably want to be the first one to share a yes-testimony.
Yeah, because sometimes kids are like,
I don't get it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Or they're too shy the first few times you're at site. We had one site where the kids never had anything to say for yes-testimony time. And then one day there's just a switch, and all of them, like from that point on, all had yes-testimonies that they wanted to share.
This is really important because it teaches kids, maybe that's part of what happened was they were being taught little by little how to pay attention to what God is doing throughout their week. And then all of a sudden they start noticing things because they know, like, oh, they're going to ask me to know what God is doing. And we're going to talk about what God is doing at a certain place in the day. So throughout their week, they finally get it, the process of learning and education. But they finally learn, like, throughout my week, I'm going to watch, because on Thursday, I'm going to share, like, oh, I saw God do something this week because I was watching for it.
Exactly. And it actually helps them learn to celebrate each other, too. Because a lot of times there'll be siblings and sometimes neighborhood rivalries. We've had a couple of those instances. And it helps the kids celebrate each other, which is awesome. So you'll then ask them, and sometimes kids will say, my mom birthed the brownies last week. You kind of have to think, oh, your mom makes you brownies, let's say yes to brownies. You know, those kinds of things happen too. So after yes-testimonies, we sing a song. And we usually use one of Sean Shirley's songs, who's the worship pastor upstairs with the kids. Each one of our teams has bought her EP, and we put it on a little thumb drive and have little portable speakers. That's another thing in your bin.
And that fits in your bin.
It fits right in the bin, and it just plugs in. It also has a little iPod cord.
Yeah.
I think it was like $20.
We do have one truck, which in Metro Ministries in New York, they have like 20 trucks. So those guys have trucks that go out, full sound systems and everything. We have one, so that truck will go different places, but it can't be there every time. So, and we know most people won't have $30,000 to put into a truck to start
sound
something like this. So
system.
you have the bin with a little tiny speaker that
Mhm.
you pop a thumb drive in, and you
Mhm.
plug a little microphone in. So
Uh-huh.
if you have a lot of kids, they can hear you,
Mhm.
or you just raise your voice.
Yeah, a lot of, I mean, when I first did it, the first 2 years I did it, we didn't even have a speaker.
Yeah.
So I normally was the one singing,
I remember.
and it was a different tune every time. But
Good.
yeah, so we use a lot of Sean's songs, and we also sing a cappella songs and things like that. So yeah. So next is song, and then the four most important things. Which, Seth, do you want to kind of explain what the four most important things are, where they came from?
Four most important things are the four main core values of the kingdom. God's in a good mood. Jesus' blood paid for everything. I am important, and nothing is impossible. So those, Bill Johnson would say, these are the four cornerstones of thought that then when those four cornerstones are in place, all thought can be built on those and be stable. But the kingdom is built on those four. God is in a good mood. Jesus' blood paid for everything. I am important. Nothing is impossible.
Yeah.
And so they're just things, they're just one of those things like we repeat it every week. We nail it into those kids. So no matter what happens in their life, if something crazy happens, they find themselves somewhere in prison or wherever, it's like, oh, God's in a good mood. Jesus' blood paid for everything. I am important, and nothing's impossible. And we just nail those into them every single week for the purpose of building cornerstones of thought that anytime they think about God, they think he's in a good mood. Anytime they think about Jesus, his blood paid for all of this. Every time they think about themselves, I'm important. He wouldn't have paid that for me if I wasn't very important. And no matter what's going on in my life, no matter what's happening, no matter what's going on in my family, nothing's impossible. It just gives them a grid to interact with God and the world.
And we want them to walk away, even if they don't remember the lesson, to walk away remembering those four most important things. We even have a mom who told us the other week, my kid's always telling me, Mom, God is in a good mood.
Come on. Yes.
So they remember them.
Did you know one time we had Puppet? This is awesome. We had Puppet out there on the truck. I don't know if I told you this story.
I don't know.
It was years ago. We had the Puppet out, and the Puppet said something, asked the kids a question. So that would mean God's mad at you, right? And the kids got so angry.
Oh, man.
I'm behind there with the puppet, so they can't see me because there's a screen. And the kids got so mad. They were like, no, God's in a good mood. God's not mad. And they were mad that someone would even think God would be mad at them. And I said, I'm standing behind there holding the puppet, and they can't see me, and I'm thinking, we got it. Yeah. That's exactly what we want. We want kids who cannot be shaken from their confidence that God is in a good mood and God's pleased with them and God loves them and God
they're
is not
important
mad at
to
them.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's huge.
That's what we want.
And we do it even if we have a game day. We do the first part of the program so that we can include those four most important things every single week.
Yeah. We even have the declaration with the four most important things. We wrote that children's declaration and we put all the four most important things in it, built into the declaration. So as the kids declare that over themselves and over their lives, those four things are just being built in there. Yeah,
and some of the teams, some of the different sites actually use the declaration and they have them on poster boards. And one of the sites actually at the schools, they wrote it out and they just did a little phrase on each piece of paper. And by the end, they could pass them all out and the kids could arrange themselves in order. And they would know exactly how the declaration went. Because every week they'd have a different section. And yeah, so after the four most important things is a game, which can either be called one boy, one girl up to the front, or it can be, okay, we're all going to get in a circle and play telephone. Because today we're learning that God wants to talk to us. So you can tie your game into your theme or your lesson, or it can just be something fun. But after the game, bring everyone back together and you go over quiet seats, which is where those balloons come in that I told you about. Got 3 balloons over here for the boys, 3 balloons over here for the girls. Boys, if you choose to talk, if you choose to distract your neighbor, if you choose to get up and run off the mat, we're going to pop a balloon. Girls, same for you. If you choose to play with your neighbor and be distracting, we'll pop a balloon. If all 3 balloons get popped, you won't get a piece of candy.
Because you also chose to give all your candy to the other
to the
side.
other side. So girls, if you lose all your balloons, boys are going to get your candy. But that's not going to happen, right? Because we're going to be really awesome.
Yeah.
We always encourage them. We know that you can do this.
This is really important, and it depends on the size of the kids. Like in New York, they would tell you never pop the last balloon because there's been situations where there's 400 kids and they pop all the boys' balloons because the boys were talking. Well, then after Sunday school, the boys go fight and take all their candy back from the girls, and the girls' candy is not good. So you have to know who your audience is, who the kids are. So it's like, if I pop all 3 balloons, like here at Bethel, what we've done is we'll pop them all, but then we give them a opportunity to win a balloon back. So we actually say, all right, if you're now totally silent, you just lost all your candy. But if you're totally silent, you can actually get it back. So that way they have some incentive to keep going. Because what happens too, if you pop all 3, is then they lose incentive for, well, now, man, I really wanted the candy. And now I'm kind of mad. And so you got to kind of know your kids and where they're at and whether or not you can pop all 3. But
and it can be cool. I mean, we, at one of my sites, the boys, it was mostly boys, and they were really rowdy. And one week, it was the first time all 3 balloons got popped, and it was really hard because we didn't want to pop them because we really believe in them and know that they can do it. But we popped all 3 balloons, and at the end of the program, they just kind of started to leave, and we're like, wait, don't you want to play some games with us? And they couldn't believe that we still wanted them, that our love for them didn't change. We weren't mad at them. We wanted to hang out with them. We wanted them to be there again next week.
They learned that their consequences aren't the same as being punished. That you still love them and want to be with them, even if they have a consequence for what they've done.
So you just kind of have to see what I mean, it was a smaller site of probably about 12 kids, so it's easier to do it that way.
And this is good. Like, one thing Quiet Seats does with that as well is, like, if a boy is talking and the boy next to him doesn't want to lose his candy, they hold each other accountable. Like, shh, hush, stop. And so accountability comes in among the kids where they'll regulate each other so that you don't have to. Which is awesome.
So once you've got Quiet Seats turned on and the kids are quiet, it's when we bring in the lesson. So our lesson, we normally have one PowerPoint. What do we want the kids to walk away knowing? For example, it might be, God wants to talk to me. And then we put sub-points in there between 1 to 3. Usually, God wants to talk to me. He talks to me all the time. It doesn't matter how old I am. And he talks in different ways. And so whoever does the intro will come up and they'll say the PowerPoint, and they'll say, God is in a really good mood, and so he wants to talk to us. He cares about you. You're important. And he'll, whoever it is will say all those things. And then they'll do a Bible lesson. Someone else will come up and do a Bible lesson, maybe Samuel. He was 12 when God talked to him. And then 3 object lessons that go with each one of the subpoints. And then an encounter time for them to encounter and practice whatever, and let God demonstrate whatever it is that you just taught, whether that's a declaration or a prophetic act, or it's soaking and listening and or prophesying, those kinds of things.
So you just went over kind of your lesson, PowerPoints, subpoints, object lessons. You do skits sometimes.
Normally for the Bible we do a skit. We'll maybe pull kids up to help act it out, or those kinds of things.
How do you guys put a lesson together? Like, how do you
come up with what?
Because you have 27 teams, 27 lessons happening all around the city.
So our first 4 lessons that we do at the beginning of the year are Seth's lessons on the 4 most important things. So the first week we teach them God is in a good mood. Jesus' blood paid for everything. Those are our first 4 lessons, and then we let them write their own lessons. And I teach them what feeds you feeds them. So, all of the different sites, all 27 sites, are doing different lessons after that. And I encourage them to meet as a team and talk about what's going on in their life. What is God teaching them right now? What has God taught you? What kinds of testimonies do you have that you can pull on? And what else? do you want to do a series? How do we get those to connect? And even just what do the children need? Because you know your community, you know what the kids are dealing with. If it's a really rough community and there's lots of fighting amongst the families, you might want to talk about respect. You might want to talk about honor, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And then you want to connect it to your heart, and you want to pull on personal testimonies, personal stories, because the kids want to know you.
Yeah.
And so if you can relate what you're teaching back to your own heart and your own life, it's so much more tangible to them and more desirable in a way. So that's kind of what we do, is we talk about what's feeding me right now, because whatever it is that you're learning, these kids need to learn it too. Whether that's I need to learn to be better, I need to be a better roommate, or a better family member, or I need to learn how to trust, or I need to learn peace. Like, these are all things that we as adults deal with. Like, they're dealing with the same thing on a different scale and in a different way.
If you've done children's ministry for any length of time, you've probably noticed, like, let's say we're teaching a curriculum, and so I have lessons here, and I say, here, Lisa, we're on a team. I say, here, Lisa, here's our lesson for this week, and you take that lesson, and you start to learn it and get ready, because you're going to teach it on Sunday or whatever. So you start learning this lesson to get ready to teach it, but then you realize it's as if you actually start going through stuff. Like, I don't know if you've had this happen where it's like, man, it was like the lesson was for me. And I've always told people it's because God will let you go through the things that you're going to teach so that you can get breakthrough. So then when you go to the kids, you hand them a breakthrough. It's inheritance. Like, I fought for something. I've worked through something. I've gone through this. And now I've got a victory with God, and I can hand it to you so you don't have to fight through it. You don't have to fight for it. You don't have to try to figure it out. I'm handing you the victory I just got. But I've noticed over the last 10 years where it's like over and over, it's like the people who are teaching the lessons need the lessons. But this is designed so it's like
we're teaching from our breakthrough.
We're teaching from our breakthrough, not getting a lesson and trying to get a breakthrough, because it's just how it works.
Yeah, it's not studying the Bible to teach. It's studying the Bible to learn.
Yeah.
And then from that place of learning, presenting it to the kids. Once it's become your own heart message, not just knowledge in your head, it's more tangible. And one of the reasons I encourage my teams to meet all together is then you're not just handed a script or a lesson that has no actual meaning to you.
Yeah.
But when you write it as a team, you take personal ownership of what you're writing, and you become passionate, and you know what it is that you're going to be talking about. And you're like, oh, I want to talk about this. You don't necessarily have to write it all out, because it's in your heart. You can get up and share about.
And that's good too, because then it's like people, it's like you're saying, there's so much ownership, because someone's like, oh, we're going to teach on that. I have a personal story. And boom, right there, it's like, okay, well, you're going to teach that part.
You're going to do yes-testimonies, because you have a yes-testimony.
You have a yes-testimony. You have this. This is actually really good, because what feeds me feeds them. When I first came to Bethel, that was one of the things that needed a change in my thinking, because in children's ministry, most of the time you're handed a lesson. Almost, you're handed a lesson. Here, study this to teach it on Sunday or to teach it on Thursday. Here, study to teach, study to teach, study to teach. Well, pretty soon your relationship with God is completely revolving around studying to teach something, studying something somebody else wrote. And yes, it's all eternal, but it's maybe they wrote it 10 years ago, 20 years ago. You're studying it, and it may not be what your kids need. So now you're studying to teach rather than being with God and then giving chunks of your life out to kids, out to people. And so if you're not careful with that, after time, and some of you probably know what we're talking about here, it's like I found myself only studying just to teach. Like, I only read the Bible to teach the kids. I only read the Bible because I'm going to talk for 10 minutes on Sunday morning or Thursday or whatever. And pretty soon you're like, I don't know what happened to my relationship with God. Oh, because you've sacrificed it for the sake of just studying to teach. Where this actually helps you not do that. Like, this helps you study for you and then give a chunk of your life away.
And it's easier, because it's like you're not striving to come up with, a lesson or to learn something, but it's actually an overflow of what God's already doing in your life.
Yeah.
And that just changes everything, I feel like. And it and even just with the whole object lesson things, when you write it as a team and someone can say has an idea, you get each other's ideas flowing. Instead it's like, oh, this happened to me one time, and you're like, oh yeah, this thing happened to me, I could do this, and like, what if, and it makes it just easier. It's not just one person being like, okay, well.
So in order to do something like this, let's say, okay, like if you're going out with a curriculum, it's a little bit like, hey, I'll see you on Thursday afternoon, or I'll see you on Saturday. Here's your lesson. Boom. This needs, what would you say? So they're going out on Thursday afternoons for an hour and a half, 2 hours with the kids.
Yeah.
But they meet one other time during the week for an hour, 2 hours. So what's kind of required for this? I mean, of course, each person is sort of expected, like, you have a relationship with God. You be with God. You love God. You read the Bible. You just spend time with God. Then we meet together.
Yeah.
Hey, what's feeding you? Hey, what's
going on in your life?
What are you feeling? What did you notice from the kids? Where do you feel like the kids are? Questions that stir these kind of thoughts and these kind of like pulling out of each other what's going on. So do you recommend the teams meet once, twice?
I recommend that they meet for an hour outside of the Thursday after
actual time of.
And during that time, what I recommend doing, and every team does it a little different, but I recommend you meet as a team, pray, obviously. I just have everything start with that. And then we talk about what's going on in our lives. We write the lesson for the next week. And we decide, okay, so what are we going to need? Who's going to bring what? What can we resource? What kind of things can we use where we don't have to spend any money? Okay, who's going to type up the Bible story and make it presentable and kid-friendly? And then we practice that week's lesson and run through it.
So you prepare the following week, but then practice the one coming up.
Yes.
So that way you're really ready for this one, but you're also preparing for the next one.
Yeah, that way you have plenty of time to come up with what you need, to think about what you're going to say for your part, and then you meet together, and then you can practice it. Because the thing is, we want to show these kids excellence. Because we're representing an excellent father and an excellent king. And so we don't want to just show up and then kind of have our act together and kind of be making it up as we go. We want to come with a strong foot forward because these kids are worth it. And that's their value to us, and that's their value to God, is the best. So that's why we practice. And it got to the point where sometimes it only takes 30, 45 minutes to write a lesson and practice the one that's coming up.
And then they're done.
And then they're done.
And then they meet on Thursday for the kids. They're ready to go.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's awesome.
And you have a paper here, so you have you have slots on your paper.
I don't know if it'll make any sense, if it'll be reversed.
No, it won't be reversed. Let me see.
Okay. So basically, basically what we do is we write down the PowerPoint and then the subpoints, and then we write down in one column, this closest column, who's going to do what, and then in this column it's what they're going to be doing, so that we know.
So that way, anytime someone can look and know, okay, Lisa's after me, and then I follow. I'm behind Molly. Then it's me. It's Molly. It's me, and then it's Lisa, and then it's Johnny. And we're going through, but everybody can see who's doing what.
Yeah, and we
and
don't
what exactly it is.
We'll tape one of these to the top of the bin so that we can, as we're like walking off the stage, we can see what's my next part, who's coming up after me, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So this is a very helpful paper. Some people stick them in like one of those music sheet things and just use a dry erase marker on it. It changes every week.
And you just wipe it off and it's good. All right, so we you've gone over like your structure, how you do the day, how you develop a lesson, how you put that together. This is really, really good stuff. You talked about the bin, the tarp, the little speaker,
the balloons,
and candy. Is there anything else you really need? Like, we're trying to make this as simple as possible. So like, you need a little tub, like a little tub this big. Not huge,
Yeah.
whatever
I
that
mean,
is.
you can use a box if that's all you. I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Just something to carry all your stuff in.
Yeah. And even if you don't have a tarp, maybe you can't. I mean, they're like $13 or something, $9 at Home Depot. You can get tape and just or
Tape
string or whatever and mark off where the kids will be sitting.
Yeah.
You can be creative.
What do you do if the weather's bad? If you're outside and it
great
starts
question.
raining or anything like that,
if it's just sprinkling, usually the kids want to be out there with you anyways, and they want to do the lesson anyways. But if it's like raining really hard, we go out every week no matter what.
Yeah.
Because consistency is so important. But if it's raining, we don't do lesson. We just knock on the doors and say, hey, we can't do program this week because it's raining, but we wanted to come tell you we love you, that we're thinking about you, and like, how was that basketball game, and connect with the kids and the families anyways. Some of the days that it's raining have been the best time to connect with the families.
Yeah.
Because we just go from door to door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see, what other question?
Should I talk
Anything else we need?
Yeah. Well, you'll want permission. You'll need permission. So with the schools, with the elementary schools.
Yeah, because you're in public schools teaching about Jesus.
Yeah.
How's that work?
And like that's the thing is even at the school and at the community sites, like we don't sugarcoat anything. Like it's sugarcoated on its own. It's just like we are very real about what we're here for and who God is and how powerful He is.
And they let you do that.
Why? Well, we are very honoring. That's one really big thing is we tell the principals, we meet with the principal to ask permission to present, hey, this is what we want to do. We would love to come alongside your after school program once a week and help serve your vision. We're here to help you guys. And a lot of them love that idea. And then we meet with the site facilitator who runs the after school programs, and we say, hey, what are you guys going after this year? And they'll say, oh, well, we really want to teach the kids to be respectful, or just different things like that. And you say, okay, like we want to help you accomplish that. And we do things, we'll buy the site facilitators different things, just like throughout the year, like, hey, we saw you guys needed some more footballs. We got those for you. And we work hard to build good relationships with those people. But we also have a permission slip that goes out to all the kids in the after school program saying,
explaining what it is.
Yeah, we say, hey, we're here to teach a Christian value-based program, instilling good character traits and things like that for the kids. If you want your child to be a part of it, sign here.
Yeah.
And so
when they sign that, they're actually giving permission for their child to hear about Jesus in the school. And because it's an after school program, you are able to do that because it's not in the school, it's after school, and the parents have given permission. And the parents know exactly what you're doing, and they've given you permission to do what it is that you're doing, because that's all up front.
Yep.
No shady business. Just here's what we want to do. If we don't have your permission, then your children will not attend our after-school program. They'll do something else.
They'll stay with whatever after-school program is normally there.
Yeah. That way the parents really know, I am saying yes to my child learning about Jesus and God and Christian values.
They're open to it. I mean, there's plenty of parents who have come up to us and said, we don't know what we believe, so we really encourage our kids to come to this so that they can decide for themselves. And there's parents that say, hey, I get off work early so that I can come and watch the program because I love what you have to say. And there's kids that their parents have them stay after school only on Thursdays to be a part of our program just because they love what it does to their kids. Yeah. And when it comes to the community, if it's in a park or something, we kind of just go.
It depends on where you live and what you're doing. Like some places will require a park permit. If you use any kind of amplification, you'll need a sound permit. Just depends on your city, what you're using. Like if you're using a little tiny speaker with a thumb drive, they're probably not going to make you get a sound permit because no one can hear you except the people in the 20-foot radius. Yeah. So just things like that. Like in New York, it's a bit different. They really have to have sound permits, park permits. They're driving trucks in.
It's on such a large scale.
Yeah. The one that I started when I started Sidewalk Sunday School here, we went I mean, it's a little bit bigger story than this, but I had a place in mind that I wanted to start, but someone else was already there doing something with the kids, and I was kind of discouraged because I felt like if I bring Sidewalk Sunday School in, it's going to interfere with what they're already doing, and I don't want to do that. So I just had an idea. A friend lived in these apartments. I had an idea. I should go drive to their apartments and just check them out. A low-income apartment complex. So I went in there. I drove around, and there was kids everywhere. And it was like what it felt to me like as I drove by. The kids were all playing games and stuff. It was like they looked up and they watched me drive through, and it was as if I could hear them saying like, "Please come here, please come here." Even though they weren't saying it, I could hear them crying out like, "Please come here, please come here." So I called my friend and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing a Sunday school there." She gave me the manager's name, gave me her phone number, told her manager I was going to come talk to her. I set up an appointment. I just went and said, "Here's what we want to do. We want to help your apartment complex." She says, "We have a lot of single moms that's all low income. We even have some single dads. Most of these families, they have kids, and we want you to come." And she just says, "I'll give you, if the weather's bad, you can have the community room. I'll give you the alarm code. I'll give you the key." And so I'd get the key and go unlock the door. I'd punch in the alarm code. We'd bring all the kids in. We'd just make sure everything was like, whoa, this is kind of amazing. So even when it was raining, she gave us full on. We had a roof. We had a little kitchen in there. We could like make popcorn and stuff if we wanted, and it was amazing. And that's where Sidewalk Sunday School all started here at Bethel, was at that one location. But it was just find out who the manager is and ask them.
A lot of them are hungry for that because they notice that there's things going on in their community, like there's a need for something. And especially in low-income areas where the kids are just outside playing anyways, they're like, yeah, come. And that's where just that culture of honor, and you're carrying something that people want and people need, and you bring it in a way that is honoring and respectful, and people look at that and are like, yeah, we want to trust you with our community room and with our fire codes because we see your heart and we see how respectful you are to us.
Man, that's good. I like it. And then you just do all the rest of the stuff. Once you have permission like that, you just do all the rest of the stuff. Get yourself a little bin, knock on some doors. You can make up little flyers.
Yeah, we normally flyer the week before we do the program. We come
make
around.
A little flyer that has like what time, what day, what you're going to do.
It normally says like games, prizes, lessons, skits, stories, and then Candy, yes. And then
fun.
Where it's going to be, for how, like at what time.
For how long.
For how long.
Like from this time to this time.
Yep. And
just hit every door. Let everyone know.
Yeah, and we tend to try to pay attention to where the kids live so that we're not knocking on the same door. Hey, do you have any kids that live here? And they're like, no. Like, this is the 5th time I've told you. There are no children here every Thursday. So that's one of those respectful things. So the community wants you there, not just puts up with you.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to share?
Yeah, I could actually just tell you guys some core values that we like to carry as a team here that would be great to instill for any teams that you send out, because it really is, it's easy. The thing is, I'll get to it. Okay, so our first core value is do what you say, because you're representing Christ, and so he always does what he says he's going to do. And so we want to be that, and we want to show that to the kids. Like if we say, hey, next week we're pieing Seth in the face, like make sure you bring the stuff to do that. Otherwise they're going to show up and say, oh, we're pieing Seth in the face, and it's just another place where they're disappointed. And that's not what we want to be. The second thing is be consistent. I already kind of touched on that. We don't want the most consistent thing in these kids' lives to be the TV. We want to start at the same time. We want to have the same level of, what's that word, like being really good. Excellence, yes. So the same level of excellence, and we want to be consistent in the kids' lives because they have plenty of places where maybe they don't have parents that are consistent. They don't have siblings. They don't have anything consistent in their lives. So that's what we want to do. Our third thing is carry his presence. And being aware that you carry his presence. When you walk up on that site or in that after-school program, you might be the only encounter those kids have with Jesus that week. You know, a lot of these kids don't go to church. They don't get that. So when they talk to you, they're actually experiencing God's presence, and that it changes their whole week. So just be aware of that. That's the fourth one, is be aware of your impact. You don't realize what the smallest words can actually soften the hardest hearts. And when you are there every single week, you know, you're being consistent, and that is going to just change those kids' lives forever. And it's going to show them, it's going to instill the four most important things in them. It's showing them that they are important, that they're worth the time, that nothing's impossible. It's just showing them all those things. We're living out what we're teaching. And then our last thing is to remain humble. That's a big thing when you're working with a team, is you want to be able to give each other feedback and receive feedback really well. After we do the program, we meet as a team and we just debrief for a couple of minutes. Hey, what worked? What didn't work? How can we fix the things that didn't work? What can we do better next time? And even giving just like personal feedback. But if you remain humble, it's really easy to give and receive feedback really well. So that's
a really important thing to do. The statistics are, if you talk about things that went wrong or things that need to change immediately after, like if you do a debrief immediately following a lesson or a program, the people in the debrief are 300% more likely to implement the changes than if you wait and do it later. So just talking about that stuff, like what can we do better? How can we improve? What do we do good? What needs to get better?
Not waiting till that meeting later where you're like, wait a minute,
and then trying to bring up all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. It's like if you talk about it right away. I mean, even on Sundays here, we do little meetings, little 5-minute meetings, just boom, 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 encourage each other, but also like next time let's work on this, or it's perfect opportunity. 300% more likely to actually do the changes if you talk about it right away.
And just another thing is, with your volunteers or with your team, whoever's going out, a big thing that you can do is build strength among your team, because you want volunteers that want to be there. And you don't have a program without people showing up. And so one thing that one of our sites does is they do something called the Chair of Awesomeness, where after the program they have one person who's in the Chair of Awesomeness that week, and they make them for 5 minutes talk about themselves and how awesome they are. So if Seth was in the Chair of Awesomeness this week, we would time for 5 minutes.
That's a good idea.
It's hard, and it makes you kind of have to brag on yourself for 5 minutes, and then everyone prophesies over them or gives them a word of encouragement after that. And it creates unity, and when you're unified as a team, the kids see that. We had a team that, like, it had, you know, an Australian lady and a British man, and then just a bunch of different people from around the world, and the kids thought that they were a family, that they were all related. Because of how close they were and how much they loved each other. They have to be a family if that's how they treat each other. And we're like,
Chair of Awesomeness.
So that's a good little tip, is creating strength for your team is a really big thing.
Lisa, will you pray over anyone who watches this? And pray. We want to reach kids all around the world and planet, and every community, every neighborhood. And you're the one that's doing it over here. 27 teams and all around the whole city, and even the little city south and the city north. You got people everywhere. All the schools we possibly can be in. And the kids taking it home and giving it to their families and getting their families healed and saved. Just will you pray over us that happens everywhere?
I would love to. And just one other note I want to say about this. This is what works for our community. You know your kids. You'll get to know your community and what they need and what kind of structure it needs to look like. So don't be afraid to change things, and don't be afraid to let Holy Spirit change things. There's been weeks where we come with an awesome lesson plan, and God's like, nope, you're going to do a pizza party instead. And you're like, what? But we have this awesome lesson. And it turns out to be the best thing ever. It's exactly right. So bring Holy Spirit to every single planning and every single thing you do. So let's just pray.
Come on.
Father, I just thank you for every single person watching Lord, I just pray that you would just give them the encouragement and the boost that they need to just step out. Lord, that you would just show them how easy it is to just show up and bring your love with them. Lord, I just pray that you would just open doors, that there would just be favor. Every place that they want to get into, Lord, people would just be handing them keys, handing them fire codes, handing them security codes, that they would just say, yes, we want what you have, because the truth is the earth and the people in it, we want what you have to offer, God, and you've placed that inside of us. And so, Lord, help us just bring it to every kid, every child, that not one child would go without hearing your love for them, without hearing that you are in a good mood and that they are important and nothing is impossible, that they can do anything that they want to do because you're with them and you're on their side and you're championing them. So, Lord, just help every person watching to know that about them. If this is something that they want to do, this is something that stirs their heart, Lord, that they have the ability. God, give them the resources, give them the team and the people to go out and just start changing the world one child at a time. Yes. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Come on. We are pretty much out of time. So I was going to do a question. We might have time. Let's see. We could do it.
All right.
We had a question. It says, the question is, what's the best way for us as children's leaders to not just pour into the lives of our team members and the kids, but also to help equip and empower parents? And this question could have different answers. Maybe I'll go first for like how we do things on a Sunday morning, but you can think about it too. I know I didn't show you this question before. Whoops. So like think about it like you had said, okay, if it's raining, we still go to the doors, we still talk to the parents. Think about ways, how do you help equip and empower parents, not just the kids that come? What we do on a Sunday morning, it's like, of course you send stuff home for the parents if you can. What we've done is we found sending things home doesn't always work the best for us. Our community is pretty tech savvy and they like technology and things like that. So we started making little monthly videos for the parents of what we're going to be teaching, what we're going to be doing, and a little testimony. So the parents are hearing from us as the team, just a little 2-minute video. Like, here's where we're going to be going for the next month. Here's what we're going to be doing. Here's what we're going to be teaching from the Bible. Here's what we're going to be talking about, things like that, where we're actually giving them where we're going and sending it in a quick little video that's easy for them to watch wherever they're at, whatever they're doing. They can just watch it and they know what's coming for the next month, what's happening, where to ask their kids questions, what kind of questions to ask, things like that. But do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, for us, some of the sites, they have a similar thing where they have a little printable of today in Extreme Kids, I learned I'm important, and just a little blurb, and the kids can take that home with them, but piece of paper, you never really know what's going to happen to it, if it'll ever make it into a parent's hand or not. But we have sites where parents actually come and they watch, and sometimes it's with folded arms, and sometimes it's with tears in their eyes, because whatever we're teaching is actually exactly what they need to hear too. And so we try to be really conscious of, we're not just here to change the kids' lives, but their whole family and their whole environment. And so we try to not find time, but pick some of our team members that will go and minister and talk to those parents and find out what's going on in their lives. Just a couple weeks ago, we did a lesson on God being a healer, and one of the moms was watching and she just started to cry, and she said, can you explain to my kids why we had 2 of our close friends die of cancer just a couple weeks ago? And it was like she wasn't really asking for her kids to be explained. She wanted to know how is he a healer if this is what happened? And they were able to just encourage her and talk to her and pour into her, and she just left saying, thank you so much for what you bring every week. And what you bring to my kids. But you could tell it was also thank you for what you're bringing to me. So
that's good.
We try to target parents and kids alike.
I was thinking for like inside the church Sunday morning type stuff. Sunday mornings for us is super busy, so I say hi to parents, shake their hand, give them a hug, but then there's not that much interaction on Sunday because of the amount of kids and just the busyness of the day here. But I just make myself available too. It's like parents who have questions or want to talk about something or need help with something. It's like they can just if they ask me anything, like, hey, shoot me an email and we'll set up a meeting and we'll talk. But I've had that several times where it's like, okay, how do I help these parents? Just be available to them. Like, Lisa's available to them, like at the end of the site, they're available to talk about stuff like that. I'm available during the week. People can set appointments, and we just, I think, making yourself available when they need it, or
not looking like you're too busy. Even if you are really busy, if you sometimes just verbally saying, I'm not too busy, send me an email. I want to hear about this, or I want to meet with you. Because that's a lot of times, at least for me, my biggest fear with leaders or things is like, oh, I don't want to bother them, or I don't, but if it looks like they want time with me or for me, then I feel a lot more comfortable saying, hey, I need something from you.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, next video conference, we're now quarterly now. So the next one is April 24th, and we're actually going to have Aileen, the one who wrote the book that we share the testimony about in the beginning. Aileen Foose is going to speak. She's the 5th and 6th grade pastor. So she'll probably talk about encountering God through soaking. She'll probably tell some pretty awesome stories. She's done a bunch of amazing things, and she's really a great asset to our team here and just what she does with the kids. So we'll have her April 24th, 9 a.m. California time, wherever you're at. It'll be 9 a.m. If you watch live, you can send in questions, things like that during the conference. But Lisa, thanks for sharing and thanks for just giving your life to people all around the place and all around the world, and for them to be able to do what you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's good. And we will see you guys April 24th, if not before, somewhere else. All right. Bless you.